I became a police officer mostly because, people say when you're a kid you kind of know what you're going to do when you grow up, and it was kind of the case. I just didn't realize it. After leaving high school and going to college for flight school to be a pilot, things just kind of changed, and I saw some programs that were involved in law enforcement, and I changed my mind as soon as I saw it. I came to work on the 4th. I was scheduled to work 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and I was working with 2 other officers, Officer Matt McDaniel and Officer John Steiner. All 3 of us were just out on patrol. We had been together on a call prior when we received a call for an active home invasion. And the address came in the 800 block of Miller Avenue. So the 3 of us arrived on scene. With us being on scene, between the 3 of us, we probably had over 30 years law enforcement experience. So we knew what we were doing. We got on scene quietly, did as discreetly as we could if possible. No lights on our cars. Get out of your vehicles, you go up to the house. We knew that it being a small house, there would only be access to the front and the rear of the house, so I went to the rear and covered the rear. Officer Steiner covered the front, and Officer McDaniel was on the side of the house. From that point, we just were trying to ascertain as much information as we could, knocking to try and get entry into the home. I came back around to the front of the house, seeing that they had made contact with the neighbor who had called. Upon returning to the back of the house, as soon as I entered the deck and got onto the deck of the house, the back door swung open, and the first thing I saw was a muzzle flash. And from there on, everything was, everything slows down. You get tunnel vision, you get auditory exclusion, and then next thing you know, I'm on the ground. And then at that point, I started calling out for help for my partners. And at that point in time, Officer McDaniel came over and found me, and then he immediately just, in somehow, some way, he was able to lift my 225 pounds up and throw me over his shoulder. And while Officer Steiner provided cover, took us out to the front. And went out to the front of the house, out in the front yard, and I remember them putting me down and starting to tear my uniform off to try and address my wounds at that point in time. And that's when I first remember feeling pain. And that was from Officer McDaniel just grabbing to the left of my chest and trying to stop the bleeding.
I didn't know he was still alive when I carried him out to that front yard until I grabbed one of his wounds, and him and I talk about it. He says, "I hate to do this to you, but I got to." And I grabbed the wound, and he started screaming, and that was basically a sigh of relief right there, because I knew that he was still with us and we were going to get him out of there. And yeah, he was okay.
And then I can remember hearing sirens, hearing another officer that I knew from another department, and then they got me on a stretcher, they loaded me as fast as they could in the ambulance, and then it was a fast-paced ride from Clairton all the way to Mercy Hospital. So I pretty much remember everything from that night.
Breaking news.
Right now, we're getting a first look at the suspect in the case of a police officer shooting. This is Miles Hutchinson, under arrest tonight. That breaking development just announced by police within only the past hour. We're learning more about the condition of the officer involved.
Dave, we just left a news conference, and the superintendent said these 3 officers, including Officer James Kuzak, did everything right by the book. But these suspects intended to shoot their way out.
I already knew I was paralyzed. Before I woke up, I knew. As soon as I had gone down from being shot, I knew that my legs weren't working. I knew that something was wrong. So in my mind, once I entered the hospital, I'm just happy I'm there. And I said to myself, as long as I can hear myself talking, I'm alive.
There's several reasons for nominating Jim, but I think the biggest reason is that the positivity that he has after being shot 5 times is just remarkable. We look up to him. We're supposed to be pulling him along, and he's actually pulling us along.
I'm just like anybody else. I've had days where I can't comprehend why this is happening to me. I can't comprehend how I'm going to live life in this chair, which I don't think I'm gonna. As I've told everybody else, I'm going to walk. I already am. When I'm in physical therapy, I use braces and a walker to walk right now. This isn't going to stop me. And I'm going to continue in law enforcement, whether it's back on the street or whether I have to go into teaching, which I would like, or whatever I have to do.